rogue. The Chief Constable at West Midlands Police has gone. Oh, well, you might cheer, but it's not good enough. He should have been sacked, he should still face a gross misconduct investigation, and he shouldn't be allowed to keep his massive pension. Today, we were told there's going to be a press conference at 4 p.m, so set your alarms. Chief Constable Craig Guildford, he's going to be making an announcement. So, the bloke who simped to the Muslim community?
Salam alaikum. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to the leaders and elders that have afforded me this opportunity to speak to you personally.
I would just like to take this opportunity to thank the leaders and the elders who have afforded me the opportunity to stand before you tonight. So thank you very much, whoever you are. Thank you to the leaders and the elders, shock ram. But the bloke who allowed aspects of the Muslim community to just simply police themselves?
Community leaders have been speaking to the police as well because...
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Right, I think, apologies for the language you're hearing, but a sense of the anger, I think you can hear there.
Yeah.
Is that one of the community leaders there that we just saw, maybe? Anyway, he's the bloke who banned Jewish Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from Birmingham.
From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea!
He's the bloke who's accused of misleading us by not telling us that armed gangs from the Muslim community were planning on attacking Israeli fans, and he denied that his police force had used fake information from artificial intelligence. Yeah, that bloke was going to front up. He was going to speak to the press. He was going to stand before us. He was going to be a big man. He was going to admit it all. He was going to apologise. He was going to quit. What happened? Well, out stepped the local police and crime commissioner, who himself was the former chairman of a local branch of Jeremy Corbyn-obsessed group Momentum, and he said this.
Chief Constable Craig Guildford has today retired from West Midlands Police with immediate effect. In doing so, he has acted with honour and in the best interests of West Midlands Police and our region. As Police and Crime Commissioner, and on behalf of the people of the West Midlands, I thank him for his service. Thank you very much.
Where's the accountability in retirement, Mr. Foster?
What? Sorry? What? He called him honourable, right? And then he just turns off on his heels and legs it without taking any questions. I tell you what, if I'm ever accused of anything in the West Midlands, I'll just make up a story, completely make it up, right? I'll tell the police I'm actually an honourable man, and then I'll just leg it. Is that how it works now? Is that how it works? These are the rules now, is it, in the West Midlands? Craig Guildford had a salary of somewhere in the region of 230 grand a year. Reportedly, he could now be allowed to get about £154,000 a year as a pension. Now, I've got an idea. Craig Guildford obviously loves the local Pakistani community so much in Birmingham, doesn't he? Well, with that amount of money, he could buy himself a lovely home in Pakistan, live over there, talk to as many community leaders and elders as he likes, can't he? He talks to them every day, consult them every single day. Look, I'm sorry, Mr. Guildford, but actions have consequences, and as a police officer, you should know that, and you shouldn't be allowed to just swan off into the sunset like nothing happened. Let's get the views of my panel on this. Adam, Oh, thank you very much. Go on, Adam, I'll come to you first on this. What do you reckon?
It's my opinion that Craig Guildford should have been sacked and, if anything, prosecuted as well. You cannot have... we cannot live in a country where the top of our police are allowed to lie and fabricate evidence. Who can we trust if we cannot trust the hierarchy of the police in this country? And that goes back to what I said earlier. If you lose respect and lose trust for your police, things are only going to go one way. Look, for me, this country is two-tier. If it's not our Prime Minister, our government, our police force, our judiciary and our media, you know, where are we going? They are cowed by Islamist mobs. We have people on the streets of our capital calling for jihad and nothing happens to them. Yet if I said something hateful or aggressive online, I will probably end up in prison. That is all that is wrong with this country.
All right. Just as a show of hands in this room here now, who thinks that he should be stripped of his pension? Yeah. Right. Is there anyone who takes a different view at all? No? OK, well, there you go. It's interesting, though, isn't it? Christys, what do you think? Do you think this is enough here, that he's been allowed to essentially retire? He didn't even have to come out and say it himself, did he? Just retire, never to be seen again. He's only 52.
Yeah, retiring at 52. And do you know how much he was earning? £220,000 a year. I mean, when I read that, I thought, Allahu Akbar. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. That's unbelievable to me. But also, the reason, the background to this whole thing is that obviously there was evidence that was presented that didn't exist, and a game was referenced that didn't actually exist as to demonstrate the threat. And this is the police force, right? And the most they did was go onto Microsoft and do an AI search. I mean, that was the investigative skills of a police force. Yeah. AI. I mean, it's just dreadful. And no one thought, well, I'll just check whether I back that up. So it is outrageous. It is outrageous that he's been allowed to just retire. It is outrageous that they're all now pontificating about how honourable he is. It isn't honourable at all. And it is, to your point, actually, there are many Muslims in this country who are law-abiding, who would not agree with this at all. But there is an undercurrent of fear about certain members of the Islamic community that our politicians and our police chiefs are too afraid to address.
Okay, all right.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GBNews discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee. And you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GBnews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Just before we go to the gentleman in the white, just hold fire for a second, Serg. I want to come to Orla and then we'll get you to ask a question. But for me, this is the thing that because he's been allowed to do this in such a way, there's nothing stopping him getting another job in the police. This is the thing. So this guy could go to another police force. He's only 52. He could be allowed to become the chief constable there. There'd be nothing on his record that says that there's anything wrong or that there's been anything really wrong here at all. And I just don't really think that's right and proper. All.
No. So I think what should happen is Shabana Mahmood, as the Home Secretary, should stand up and command and show her, show her some integrity. She ultimately is responsible for the police forces in this country. She should then lay the law down herself and say, OK, if he's retiring, he should have been sacked, absolutely, and that should have happened a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Ultimately, as far as pensions go, and coming from many years ago within an HR background, there is nothing you could do about that pension. He could then, go through a whole court case and and it could end up very messy. So his pension is pretty much golden tight. I think what should happen now is there should be some kind of agreement put in place where he retires fine, never to be seen again, never want to hear from you again, and just done and dusted. But what we have got to do as a country is get to grips with mob rule. We have got to get on top of this. There has to be, a hierarchy, and that hierarchy is the police and the government and the Home Secretary, and they have to stick by the law. You are here to govern, not to decide what side of the law you come down on. End of story.
Bill, do you think he should have been allowed to just swan off? I mean, he didn't even turn up today, did he? And then the Police and Crime Commissioner didn't bother to take any questions.
No, I think he should have been sacked. I mean, this is an awful, awful case with massive misjudgments and incompetence. You know, there was a blurring of the line between operational policing and political oversight, where, you know, he was meeting with councillors who were advocating for the local Muslim community against the visiting Israeli fans. There was use of bogus intelligence, the use of artificial intelligence, and I think artificial intelligence has got some real benefits, but you need to treat it very, very carefully. Otherwise, you end up with cases being fabricated. The Home Secretary doesn't have the power, and in her statement this week to remove him, she's very frustrated that she doesn't have the power.
She should have.
Yeah, and maybe there should be a change in the law.
I think they're talking about a change.
Yeah, but she did express no confidence in him, and I think that triggered this process where he was sacked. The bit I disagree with is taking away his pension. The legal threshold for doing that, rightly or wrongly, has not been met in this case.
OK. All right. Well, quite, actually, so there's a gentleman here with a lovely white jacket on. Sir, what would you like to say about this?
Just a quick point. I can't help thinking that, once again, the British public are getting the head cut off a snake, and then that's the end of it.
And the snakes are out to run.
I don't think it's a snake. This is an endemic problem across so many different aspects of British life. And cutting the head off it, and then we all say, well, job done. No. And I don't think that's
the job done. Would you like to see
done.
Others go as well? I mean, because let's be honest, it wasn't acting alone.
Well, anybody that runs a large organisation knows you make a decision, but you make a decision based on a cooperative of subdivisions that eventually come up to you, lands on your desk, and then you verbatim, as we do here, we read out the policy. And once again, we're going to cut this head off this snake. Whether he should have gone at the start or the end, it doesn't matter. He could have been hanging on to say, well, hang on, I'm not taking the fall for everybody else's problem, because there must be hundreds of people have collaborated to do this.
Precisely that, so it wasn't one man, it was a unit. That's all I'll say.
OK, fine. Can I just ask you, I don't want to pry too much into your life, sir, but do you mind just telling me what kind of, roughly what line of work you are in or were in?
Well, this year I'll be 50 years in the world of advertising, so I've dealt across many business sectors. So I've spoke with many businessmen.
So if something happened in your company, right, and you were at the top of it, and it was something on a par with being as catastrophic as this, do you think that... God forbid. Do you think that they might have let you quietly retire without any accountability, or what do you reckon?
Well, fortunately for me, that was my decision. I would have had to make that decision. It wouldn't have happened. But I just don't think that we can just say, right, sack this gentleman. You know, possibly been a wonderful policeman for 40 years, I don't know that. But that's not the problem. He's just the voice piece for an endemic problem that has perpetrated itself over this catastrophic... We say this is such a heinous crime, and yet... One guy?
One bloke. We're on a full pension as well. Look, can I say, because there's a wider point here, isn't there? When the wider public look at this situation, I don't know, my personal view on it anyway, was like, yeah, you are supposed to have massive respect for the police. I mean, they should be the ones who are, I'm not saying a crime has been committed here, but for the sake of this metaphor, you know, they should be like the ones who are like the most legally sound, shouldn't they? The most responsible is a better way of putting it. And looking at the way that they've behaved here, which looks a lot like they've been repeatedly trying to kind of cover up or wriggle out of things, and then they go, oh, you shuffle off, old boy, you're all right. I just think it's such a bad look for the public.
The word is dishonest, and we have got a government that has been proven to be dishonest. A police force at the top is certainly dishonest. And let me just say this, I feel very sorry for people if they're Jewish in this country right now. There's about 350,000, maybe 400,000 of them. Let me tell you now, if there was 4 million Jews in this country, the police would be treating them differently, and the government would be treating them differently.
I've got another word to add to that, and that is that this fear among the police, and this fear sort of leads to a confirmation bias. So what they'd have done is they'd have looked up this AI information and they'd have thought, great, we want this to be true. Yes. So therefore, we will present this as it is. And it's the same principle, I'm afraid to say, as what we saw with the grooming gangs, with repeated police forces saying, oh, actually, you know, we want it to be true that these girls, you know, that they're up for it, that they're child prostitutes. There is no such thing. You know, this make that confirmation confirmation bias means we don't need to deal with it because of our fear of the communities that we're scared of. And that is so wrong.
And that is happening everywhere with MPs. It's happening everywhere.
Schools, teachers.
Exactly. You know, because they're scared. Oh, we don't want to be accused of racism. We don't want to be this. We don't want to be that. So everybody is coming down on the side of Islam, I'm afraid, and that's how it...
One sec, because you haven't got a microphone. Sir, all right, just move your seat. If you talk, you've got to have a microphone, don't worry. Bill, so just on this, so final point on this, I think the sense is that this guy's faced no consequences, really. Would you go with that?
Well, look, I mean, he's been publicly humiliated and he's been publicly castigated, so I think there are consequences, but I don't accept... And his conduct is egregious. I don't accept that is widespread. Look, I'm the oldest person on this panel, and something I've learned over the years is that too often when the police make major misjudgments, they dig in and defend themselves come what may. And in terms of this particular individual, listen to the briefing from other police officers. They think he's an arrogant so-and-so who should have resigned weeks ago.
Yeah, good. All right. Brilliant. OK, guys, well done. Lively start again. We've got to go to... Oh, yes, good. We've gone to Simon Foster, who is the Police and Crime Commissioner. And, in fact, responding to his statement, the Home Secretary said this. The findings of the Chief Inspector were damning. They set out a catalogue of failings and have harmed trust in West Midlands Police. By stepping down, Craig Guildford has done the right thing today. I would like to acknowledge his years of service, and I pay tribute to the work of the officers in West Midlands Police who keep their communities safe every day. Today marks the crucial first step in rebuilding trust and confidence in the force amongst the communities they serve. In a statement, West Midlands Police previously did say, we are extremely sorry for the impact these have had on individuals and their communities. We're taking immediate action to address the matters raised in these preliminary findings. We know that mistakes were made, but reiterate that the findings were none that this was done in a sense of intent or a distortion or discrimination. West Midlands Police is an anti-discriminatory organisation, and our planning for this football match was always about public safety of all communities. They say they're going to work tirelessly to rebuild trust. I'll just say, actually, sorry, a point I should have raised there was that bloke saying about how he's done the honourable thing. I mean, I don't think there's anything particularly honourable about that. Anyway,